on my way to Disney with my son. My son Felix. He and I are going to have a day at Magic Kingdom before it rains today. So while I was driving, I figured I'd answer two questions that people have asked me on the broadcast channel. The first one was about the way that I use my iPad versus using something like paper and pencil, and kind of what my thoughts are on that. Basically, with the iPad, I see it as kind of another tool in the toolbox. It actually replaces about 7 or 8 other tools for me. So instead of carrying around paper, tracing paper, markers, pencils, maybe colored pencils, also like a copy machine, different things that it would take for me to get from a thumbnail sketch to a rough draft to my actual final finished piece. Now I have kind of all that in one like little mobile package. And I work on an iPad mini instead of an iPad Pro, mainly because of the form factor. An iPad mini is like the size of like one of those Moleskine books or leash term books, or even just like a standard novel or a Kindle or something like that. So in my opinion, it's really like the only one of the iPads that's like a truly mobile device. It's easy to kind of take that everywhere. It fits in every single bag that I have. It can even fit in like a fanny pack or something like that. So yeah, I have that for pretty much everything. The specific person that was asking me how I use it was talking about the idea of using the iPad to do all their kind of conceptualizing, and then going back once they've gotten their ideas and then kind of finishing that out on paper. And I find that I have kind of just the opposite. When it comes to conceptualizing and doing like very kind of creative work, just getting ideas down and stuff like that, I actually struggle doing that on the iPad. I feel like there's some magic to actual real analog tools, the tactile feel of all of that, like actually feeling the pencil under paper, or the paper under my pencil, that kind of gets creative juices flowing. So if I'm like doodling, freeform kind of sketching and stuff, I don't really do a lot of that on the iPad. I do that more pencil and paper. So I'll use the something like a Moleskine sketchbook, or I use a bullet journal, and I actually doodle a lot in the bullet journal. It's especially helpful the fact that that's not like nice paper. It doesn't feel very precious. I can just kind of freeform draw, just work out ideas in my head, do what I'll call just like visual notes, basically, which is a drawing, but it's not meant to be anything more than just being able to jot down an idea that I have in a simple enough form that I can get back to that later to actually flesh something out. One tool that I have is that I have a matte screen protector on the iPad, which actually gives the surface itself kind of a little bit of a texture that resembles paper, more so than the iPad glass screen. It makes it feel a lot more natural. Without that, I really kind of struggle to kind of draw anything on the iPad. So that's a definite help. I don't use any of the expensive ones like the Paperlike brand or anything. I get one that's called iCarez, ICAREZ, which I can link from Amazon, and it's just their matte screen protector. It's nice and simple and cheap, and it works perfect. It's exactly the same essentially as the Paperlike or any of the other expensive brands that market that to artists. So getting back to what I was saying, I'll then take the thumbnail sketch, take a photograph of that, and then start my drawing out into Procreate and flesh that out until it's the finished drawing. I know one struggle that a lot of people have is that, so with the iPad, because of the fact that you can shrink your drawing and make your drawing larger, just easily like pinch and stretch, then it can make it difficult to figure out exactly what level of detail is appropriate for a piece, since you're not actually constantly seeing that at the size that you're going to be tattooing it. And that can be a big struggle for people. One of my ways around that is the fact that I use such a small iPad keeps me from overloading my stuff with crazy amounts of detail. And sometimes when I'm in the middle of a tattoo, if something ends up being smaller than I expected it to, I edit it kind of on the fly anyways, which is something that I've always done. And it's something you kind of intuit over time as well, like doing it often enough. I mean, it's a new media, so it has its own learning curve, just like anything. Whenever I first got an iPad, I used only the iPad for about a month and refused to use any paper, just to kind of give myself this trial by fire, and decided if it worked for me, if it felt like a usable tool at that point that was more useful than what I was already doing, then I would switch. Otherwise, I would sell it. And I had about 3 or 4 days worth of only using that, and forcing myself to only do that push myself through the learning curve, and I've never looked back since. Like, it's such a great tool. One of the biggest things with the iPad that I like is the easy ability to make changes to a drawing. There's so many things where, let's say if I found something wrong with something, or if a client wanted some kind of change in the past, it would require, with pencil and paper, entirely redrawing the piece. It might require a reschedule, stuff like that, where with the iPad, I can manipulate stuff in a very easy way. So let's say something looks off in a drawing, I can select just the eye that I drew and move that around, stretch the shape, do all kinds of things like that. Or let's say I drew a piece for a knee, and in order to get it to look correct, I have to literally stretch the entire thing wide to accommodate for the shape of the knee and the way that that's changing the shape of the drawing itself. And I can do that so easily, like it's literal seconds. Those kind of things are so valuable, and I think refusing to have a tool available to you like that is really short-sighted. Like, and again, I'm not discounting pencil and paper and tactile analog tools, because I love those. There's this luxury to using that's really wonderful. And most finished artwork that I do that's not a tattoo is not digital. Like, I even if I use digital means to start the piece, I paint things by hand because it's just what I enjoy the most. And it's the same way with tattooing. My finished product is an analog product, and my use of a digital tool is to get the drawing and everything that leads up to that done in a quicker, better, more efficient manner that is going to give me the best result that I'm capable of. So I hope all that helps. I hope I didn't ramble too much about that subject.